Nuclear war. In our time, we foolishly believe it to be a threat of the past. On the day after tomorrow, nuclear war devastates the globe with pure, fiery future shock. This is the saga of monsters unleashed and a hero unchained. Hercules Unbound. Our story so far. Hercules and Kevin stare into the fiery abyss wherein Cerberus has descended with Jennifer. Kevin is game to follow, but Basil is not. Hercules decides if the otherwise courageous canine cannot suppress its fear, it will be left behind. Lacking conviction, Kevin laughs a nervous laugh. Gingerly, almost hesitantly, he descends alongside the modern myth. Basil follows. Good dog. Although blind, Kevin knows what Hercules beholds with his eyes. A harping hippie welcomes them to the exotically beautiful shores of hell. Hercules notes the river Styx remains unchanged after so long. Beyond is Chiron, the ferryman. Oh my God. And I thought the bats in Florida were monstrous. A shadow demon lunges at Hercules as Chiron and the minstrels spectate rather casually. The minstreline forms the shadows fight for Pluto. No man has ever defeated this particular shadow. Kevin listens and slings with supernatural skill. But his makeshift missile passes through the immaterial monster, and so does the very fist of Hercules. Worse, his fist is now caught in the shadow's body. Indeed, the shadow can be thick as rock or thin as air. Kevin pleads to the knowledgeable minstrel for help. Help? Why would the minstrel do that? Kevin reveals they came to rescue a woman. Meanwhile, the shadow withdraws from combat with Hercules. Its head is cocked, listening to unearthly music. The dulcet tones are from nowhere and yet everywhere. Hercules charges, tackling the now material beast, and pushing it into the corrosive river. The water bubbles and hisses. The ooze swirls into the image of Ares. The minstrel accepts the man-god's thanks and introduces himself as Orpheus. Hercules then pays an obolus to Chiron for the ferry to Tartarus. The minstrel accompanies our dynamic duo downriver. Hercules ponders. Who is Orpheus, really? Meanwhile, Cerberus arrives at Castle Pluto. Now, that is a great shot. Cerberus centers cowboy style. While entering, Jennifer's awareness returns. He rests the stirring Jennifer on the floor as if an offering. Pluto and Persephone wonder who the lovely mortal is. Jennifer pleads if no one tells her what is happening, she'll scream. Cerberus informs her she is bait for Hercules. Pluto suggests Jennifer might stay here till the end of time. True to her word, Jennifer screams. The sound reaches even the depths of Cerberus's heart. Meanwhile, back in Paris, Simon and David forage the rubble for any sign of Hercules and Kevin. It is then the horde of Ares descends. Elsewhere, Hercules senses a sorrow in his new friend. He suddenly turns into a sensitive life coach and attempts to get the harping hippie to open up. Knowing Hercules is a kind god, Orpheus tells his tale of woe. His father was Apollo. From him, Orpheus inherited a talent for the lyre. When 19, he married the fair Eurydice. Was she a hippie too? Tragically, she died. Because of course she did. A serpent bite fell her a year after they married. Orpheus was young and the young never notice the patterns in the world, such as transitions of life to death. His grief compelled to go to hell. His music was either so boring or so ear-bleeding awful, it killed all demons in his path. So, he was the producer of Katy Perry's Witness album. Eventually, he came upon Pluto Castle. Touched by Lyre's music, Pluto released Eurydice. However, there was a catch. Orpheus was not to look back on Eurydice upon their exit. But how could he know if she was with him? Talk to her? Personally, I think he was impatient to look upon her impressive wreck once more. Upon his gaze, she was instantaneously gone. Usually, that only happens to comic book fans. Meanwhile, Cerberus confesses more to Jennifer than he has any woman. Without Ares, he would be only a homeless spirit without a body or a destiny. Jennifer sympathizes. Oh, Stockholm Syndrome much? Suddenly, a tree trunk crashes into the room. Cerberus charges toward a threatening Hercules who hurls another trunk into the rival man-spirit. Pluto stills the combatants to plead they move their destruction from his home. After all, he just paid it off. They grunt. They sweat. They curse. They cry out with pain and laughter. Their bodies heave in the thick eternal fog. Joey, do you like movies about gladiators? How the hell do you trap a man in a tree like that? I just saw it and don't know what happened. Hercules asks why the Nubian serves Ares. The Nubian answers it is because Ares is his master. Ah, problematic? Jennifer wonders why no one stops the violence. Persephone asks why. Orpheus steps up and requests audience. He begs for the life of Jennifer Monroe. While the poet weaves a web of words, Hercules is tricked into punching Pluto's house. His arm pinned, Cerberus cannot dodge the collapsing debris. 1,000 tons of horror pour upon him, burying him alive. Although under crushing pain, he cries not. Jennifer blames his treasonous lover for the death of Cerberus. He admits his death is his fault alone. It was his hate that pledged him to Ares. But now, his vengeance is fulfilled. The one who betrayed him is at last dead. Pluto confirms that those who hate always turn that hate upon themselves in the end. He permits Hercules to leave with Jennifer. Kevin figures Orpheus should go home with them. Orpheus asks what is home. Is it a place one resides? Or is the abode of a loved one? He reveals he, in fact, has long been a departed soul. Kevin asks what about his story? Orpheus fades away revealing it happened long ago. His laughter echoes throughout the Stygian darkness, as does the laughter of fair Eurydice. Cerberus also has been released to, at last, know peace. I am Brother I, and join me again as I continue to survey the great disaster.